Hey everybody! Before we jump into this video, I just want to let you know that I finally got me a fancy microphone with a plosive guard and everything, so you don't have to sit here and watch as I type what I'm thinking. You can actually listen to my stupid voice. So here we are again at Edward, super zoomed in because, you know, there's only so many ways I can show you my cutter cutting vinyl. However, this time, at least I'm cutting something different. I'm not cutting heat transfer vinyl like I normally do, but I'm actually cutting pressure sensitive vinyl, which is your basic sticker vinyl, like you put on the back of your car. This actually wasn't intended to be a vinyl project when I first started it. I was actually going to cut the design out of the front of a red piece of cardstock, then put a white piece of cardstock behind it to show the design. Well, that was my plan at least, but I rapidly ran into an extremely frustrating problem that just got worse and worse and worse the more I tried to fix it. And the problem was this. To cut paper in Edward, I have to put the paper on my cutting mat. However, over the last year, I've used that mat so much that it's lost most of its stickiness. I did successfully cut exactly one piece of paper. I would show it to you, but I got so angry at my machine just eating sheet after sheet of paper that I threw it away. I think. It did disappear. No idea where it went. Now, what is the opposite of sticky? That's right, slippery. And guess what? Paper won't stick to a slippery mat. I tried changing the blade depth, the blade pressure, the speed the blade moves, but the more and more I tried to get it to cut the paper, the more and more it just scraped the paper, and eventually it just started sliding the paper all over the mat. In the end, I gave up on trying to cut paper out and instead went with the white vinyl idea, putting the white vinyl on top of the red cardstock, simulating pretty much what I was trying to do anyway. Also, did you notice my subtle pull out from a close-in shot to a wide-angle shot? I've been taking tutorials. Neat! So then it was time to move on to weeding the white vinyl, and I have to say, weeding pressure-sensitive vinyl is way, way, way easier than weeding heat transfer vinyl. I also hope that you appreciate the nearly 1 hour I spent looking on Google for a picture of somebody with a white weed in their hands just so I could make a stupid Billy Idol joke. I'm sure you could guess exactly what the first, say, 10 to 12 pages of Google image results were when you run a search for white weed. Thanks, hippies. You used to be cool. What happened to you? And that concludes the weeding portion of this video. Wasn't very long this time and not nearly as boring as all the rest of them. So here we have the red cardstock that I was originally going to cut out and the white cardstock that was going to go behind it, which I didn't realize was already pre-cut to the size I didn't want and was already pre-folded as well. Also included were these little tiny envelopes, which were meant to be filled with the white cardstock once it was folded in half. Unfortunately, these envelopes were half the size of what the project originally was going to be, so I rapidly had to change my entire idea again. The last and final plan was to cut the red cardstock into fourths, put the vinyl on it, then glue it onto the pre-folded white cardstock, fold that in half, and voila, I would finally have my cards. And yes, in case you're wondering, this final change of plans meant that the vinyl that I just showed you me cutting and weeding, yeah, it was now the wrong size and I had to throw it away. I ended up wasting almost an entire roll of vinyl before I finally got it right. And no, I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me cut 9 pieces of red cardstock into 4 little bitty pieces of cardstock. And now we're finally reaching the finish. All I have to do is transfer the recut and reweeded vinyl onto the pieces of cardstock. To do that, I need to cut the clear transfer vinyl to size, peel it off its backing, stick it on top of the white pressure vinyl, and then finally lift the pressure vinyl off of its backing. Once that is done, I cut the white vinyl on the new backing apart to separate it out to be put on the individual pieces of red cardstock. This was a little bit difficult to do with any sort of precision, as the backing vinyl has a static cling to it, and the cardstock kept jumping up and sticking itself to the sticker before I was ready to put it down. But in the end, I was just happy to be done with it and I no longer cared. Finally, all that was left to do was to glue the red cardstock onto the white cardstock, and it would be finally done. In the end, even though I was happy with the way it turned out, I have to say this was one of the most frustrating projects I've done with my vinyl cutter so far. Between the paper not cutting on the vinyl cutter, the paper being the wrong size, the vinyl being the wrong size, and all the other myriad little tiny things that went wrong, it actually took me almost 2 days to finish this project because I kept throwing up my hands in disgust and saying I'll work on it later. In the end though, it was all worth it because everybody that I gave one to seemed to like it, or at least was kind enough to lie to me and say that they liked it.